Now we're in chapter 7.5 and we're going to be working with complex rational expressions. Our first objective and only objective will be to simplify complex rational expressions by multiplying by the LCD. Here are the steps. Step 1, you're going to find the LCD for all denominator expressions within the complex rational expression. Step 2, you're going to multiply each term in both the numerator and the denominator by the LCD. And then step 3, if possible, factor and simplify. So let's go in our books to page 532 and let's start by looking at number 9. The instructions say simplify each complex rational expression by the method of your choice. Our choice is the LCD. So for number 9, we have 7 minus 2 over x all over 5 plus 1 over x. So step 1 is to find the LCD. So in your expression you have two denominators. They are x and x. Technically we have 4, but these are just 1, so we can ignore them. So x and x. So let's start by writing the factors of the first, which is x, and then the factors of the second, which is also still x. So the LCD is going to be x. This is from the first denominator. Then, because we already have an x in our denominator, we do not write the second x. So the LCD is just x. Now step 2 was to multiply each term in both the numerator and the denominator by the LCD, which is x. So we're going to start with 7. So 7 times x is just 7x. And then 2 over x times x. Well, the x's, they cancel each other out, and we're left with just 2. And then 5 times x is 5x. And then 1 over x times x. The x's cancel each other out, and we're left with just 1. So this expression is going to become 7x all over 5x plus 1. Now we look into the numerator and the denominator. We cannot factor or cancel any common factors, therefore this is our final answer. Now let's look at number 17. And we have 1 plus 1 over x all over 1 minus 1 over x squared. So let's start by finding the LCD. So our denominators are x and x squared. So the factors of x are just x, and then the factors of x squared is x times x. We start writing our LCD by writing the factors of the first, which is x. And then we add to this list any factors in the second denominator that's not already there. So this first x, it's already there, so we're not going to write him. However, this second x is not there, so let's write him. So the LCD is going to be x squared. So now we're going to multiply each term in both the numerator and the denominator by x squared. So 1 times x squared is just x squared. And then 1 over x times x squared. Well, x will cancel out to be 1, and this x squared will cancel out to be x. So 1 times x is just x. And then again, 1 times x squared is x squared. And then the term on the bottom, the 1 minus, or 1 over x squared times x squared. Well, the x squares cancel out, and we're left with just 1. Now our expression is going to become x squared plus x all over x squared minus 1. And then step 3 was, if possible, factor and simplify. Well, we can factor the numerator by taking out an x, and we're left with x plus 1. And then we can factor the denominator, because this is a difference of two squares, and it's going to be x minus 1 times x plus 1. And then we cancel any common factors, so the x plus 1's cancel out. And our final answer is x over x minus 1. Now number 24. We have 1 over x plus 1 over y, all divided by x plus y. So again, let's start by finding the LCD. This time our denominators are x and y. Underneath the x in underneath this x is a 1, and underneath this y is a 1, so we can ignore these. So then the factors of x are just x, and the factors of y are just y. So then the LCD is going to be x times y. It's the factors of the first, and then because the y isn't already there, we'll put it there. So the LCD is x times y. So now we're going to multiply each term by xy, or x times y. So 1 over x times xy. The x's cancel out, leaving us with just y. And then 1 over y times xy. Well, the y's cancel out, leaving us with just x. And then x times xy. Well, that's x squared y. And then y times xy. Well, that is x y squared. And our expression will become y plus x, all divided by x squared y plus x y squared. Now we can factor the denominator. We see we can take out an x and a y. So xy actually factors it out, and we're left with x plus y. And then we see y plus x and x plus y are actually the same thing, so they cancel each other out. In the numerator, we're left with the 1, so we have 1 over xy. Alright, number 29. Now we have 12 over x squared minus 3 over x, all divided by 15 over x minus 9 over x squared. So let's start by finding the LCD. So now we have denominators of x squared, x, and x squared. So the factors of x squared are x times x. The factors of x are x. And then the factors of x squared again, x times x. So we start the LCD by writing the factors of the first denominator, which is x times x. And then we add to the list any factors in the remaining denominators not already there. So x is already there, so we're not going to write it. X is already there, again, we're not going to write it. And we end up with the last denominator. X is here, so don't write it. And we see we have a second x, but there is a second x already in the LCD, so we also do not write it. So the LCD is just x squared. So now we're going to multiply each term by the LCD, which is x squared. So 12 over x squared times x squared. 3 over x times x squared. 15 over x times x squared. And 9 over x squared times x squared. The first, the x squares cancel out and we're left with 12. And then for the second, x cancels out and this x squared just becomes x. So 3 times x is 3x. and then x cancels out again, and the x squared is x, and then 15 times x is 15x, and then the x squares cancel out, leaving us with 9. So our expression will be written as 12 minus 3x all over 15x minus 9. And we can factor the numerator and the denominator. Take out a 3 in the numerator, so we'll have 4 minus x all over. Take out a 3 and we'll have 5x minus 3. The 3's cancel each other out, and our final answer will be 4 minus x over 5x minus 3. Let's go on and look at number 33. So now we have 1 over x plus 2 all over 1 plus 1 over x plus 2. And we're going to start by finding the LCD. So our denominators are x plus 2 and x plus 2. Since they're exactly the same, we know our LCD is going to be just x plus 2. So now we can multiply each term by the x plus 2. In the first, x plus 2 would cancel out with x plus 2, leaving us with 1. And then for the second, 1 times x plus 2 is just x plus 2. And then for the last one, x plus 2 cancels with x plus 2, leaving us with 1. So then our final answer will become 1 all over x plus 2 plus 1. And of course we can simplify, so we'll have 1 over x plus 3. All right, number 37. We have 3 over xy squared plus 2 over x squared y all over 1 over x squared y plus 2 over xy to the third power. And we're going to start by finding the LCD. So we have 4 denominators. We have x, y squared, and then we have x squared y, and then we have x squared y, and then x, y to the third power. So let's start by writing the factors of x, y squared. They are x times y, and then the factors of x squared y, so that is x times y, and then x squared y again. And we have x times y, and then x, y to the third power, which is x times y times y times y. So now we can start to write our LCD by writing the factors of the first denominator, which is x times y times y. Now let's add to this list any factors in the remaining denominators not already there. So let's start with the second. X is already there, so we're not going to write him. However, second x isn't there, so let's write it. And then the y is already there. Now let's move on. X is already there, so we're not going to write it. A second x is also already there, so we're not going to write it. And then y is already there, so we're not going to write it. And then back down to the last one. X is already there, so let's not write it. Y is there. There is a second y already there. However, there is not a third y, so let's put it there. So the LCD is going to be x squared times y to the third power. So now we're going to multiply every term by this x squared y to the third power. So we're going to have x So we're going to have 3 over x squared y, 3 over xy squared times x squared y to the third power. Well, x cancels out and the square goes away. Y squared cancels out and the cube goes away. So then our final answer, or the final, so then we end up with 3xy. And let's move on. So then let's do 2 over x squared y times x squared y to the third power. The x squares cancel, the y cancels, and the cube becomes a 2. So this will become 2y squared. And then we have 1 over x squared y times x squared y to the third power. The x squares cancel out, the y cancels out, and the cube becomes a square. So this will become y squared. And then the last one, 2 over xy to the third power times x squared y to the third power. Well, x cancels out and the square goes away. And then y to the third cancels out and y to the third cancels out, leaving us with 2x. So the expression is going to become 3xy plus 2y squared all over y squared plus 2x. Now we can keep going by factoring the numerator. We can factor out a y, so it's going to become y times 3x plus 2y all over y squared plus 2x. And this is our final answer. Now let's look at number 39. And we have 3 over x plus 1 minus 3 over x minus 1, all divided by 5 over x squared minus 1. So let's start by finding the LCD. We have 3 denominators, x plus 1, x minus 1, and then x squared minus 1. So the factors of x plus 1 is just x plus 1. And then the factors of x minus 1 is just x minus 1. And then the factors of x squared minus 1, well, that is x minus 1 times x plus 1. X squared minus 1 is a difference of 2 squares. Now we can start by writing the LCD. Write the factors of the first denominator, so there's your x plus 1. And then we're going to multiply the x minus 1 since it's not already up here. Then for our third, the x minus 1 is there, so we're not going to write it. And the x plus 1 is there, so we're not going to write it. So this is the LCD. Now we're going to multiply each term by it. So 3 over x plus 1 times x plus 1 times x minus 1. The x plus 1's cancel, and we're left with 3 times x minus 1. And then we're going to do 3 over x minus 1 times x plus 1, x minus 1. The x minus 1's cancel out, and we're left with 3 times x plus 1. And then the last one, 5 over x squared minus 1 times x plus 1, x minus 1. Well, x squared minus 1 is the same as saying x plus 1, x minus 1, so they all cancel, leaving us with 5. And then we can rewrite our expression. And this can become 3 times x minus 1 minus 3 times x plus 1 all over 5. Now let's go ahead and simplify by distributing, so we can multiply the 3 on the inside and the negative 3 on the inside. So this will become 3x minus 3 minus 3x minus 3 all over 5. 3x minus 3x cancels out, and the final answer is negative 6 over 5. Okay, so this will conclude our video for chapter 7.5. Please email me if you have any questions.